Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2nd Chronicles, the 8th chapter. And as we left off, right, we read in the 7th chapter, we covered, the sacrifices, right, and the glorification as well as the keeping of the feast of the temple, right, having been built and the ark being put in there and everything. So we sort of saw all that take place over there in the 7th chapter. Now in 2nd Chronicles chapter 8, verse 1, and it reads, "And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, wherein Solomon had built the house of the Lord Yahweh and his own house, that the cities which Hiram had restored to Solomon, Solomon built them and caused the children of Israel to dwell there." And when it says built, it means like he fortified them. "And Solomon went to Hamath Zobah and prevailed against it. And he built Tadmor in the wilderness and all the store cities which he built in Hamath." And we know Hamath, right? Going more up north into the territory of the region of Syria. All right. If we look up here, Hamath, is it Zobah map? And take a look here. At best, once again, they give you like approximations, and some vary, right, from diagram to diagram, image to image. So if we can even find a good one here, let's see. Well, here's Aram Zobah, which might be the same on here, but we know that it is a bit north of the territory of Israel. Okay, so he claims that, right, and as it says here, he built Tadmor, right, in the wilderness, which is the when you go into the word wilderness here, it pretty much just means like uninhabited or domesticated, so to speak, pasture, large tract of wilderness. So not like a city area. It says, and all the store cities which he built in Hamath. And he built Beth Horon the upper, and Beth Horon the nether, fenced cities and walls, gates and bars. So these were fortified. And Baalath, and all the store cities that Solomon had, and all the chariot cities, and all the cities of the horsemen, and all that Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and throughout all the land of his dominion. So as you can see here, he had certain designated areas, portions, cities, as is referenced to here, where they would store different things, right? Some for chariots and all of that good stuff, right? As you can see, the store cities, some worded as supply centers, store cities. Verse 7, "As for all the people that were left of the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which were not of Israel," so these were the remnants of the heathen that were left in the land, "but of the children of Israel who were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel consumed not, them did Solomon make to pay tribute unto this day." So they were the ones who had to pay tribute, supply servants, right, to do the labor and so on. "But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no servants for his work, but they were men of war, and chief of his captains, and captains of his chariots and horsemen." Okay, so the roles that the Israelites played were more of the higher ranking roles, not the actual bond servitude roles here. "And these were the chief of King Solomon's officers, even 250 that bear rule over the people. And Solomon brought up the daughter of Pharaoh out of the city of David." Now remember, he had married her, right? So he brought her up out of the city of David onto the house that he had built for her. For he said, "My wife shall not dwell in the house of David, king of Israel, because the places are holy, whereunto the ark of the Lord Yahweh hath come. And so remember that her being the daughter of Pharaoh, being a heathen, right? There are certain customs and certain things they do, and King Solomon was wiser than to have her do that while dwelling in that place that is now sanctified and holy of the Lord. So he moved her from there to the house he built for her. Then Solomon offered burnt offerings unto the Lord Yahweh on the altar of the Lord, which he had built before the porch. And this goes back to when you read about the blueprints or the diagram or the architectural design of the building here, of his house and of the porch. A bit more detail in the book of First Kings, but you'll see it all in there. You'll start to get the picture of where some of these things were, what are some of the things he actually built. Verse 13, even after a certain rate every day, offering according to the commandment of Moses, on the Sabbaths and on the new moons and on the solemn feasts, 3 times in the year, even in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, right? Those 3 times a year. And he appointed, according to the order of David his father, the courses of the priests to their service. And remember, we read about this, how David had appointed the sons, right, the Levites, the priests, by their family in different courses or different orders, and they would play different roles, right, at their set appointed times. And it's like being on call, right, having a shift, and you come there for 8 days or a week, and maybe your job is to burn incense in the temple and so on. And that's what we see that the father of John the Baptist doing in I believe it's Luke the 1st or 2nd chapter. All right, when the angel comes to him and then tells him about how he's gonna have a son named John and so on. And the Levites to their charges to praise the minister, up to praise and minister before the priests, as the duty of every day required. The porter also by their courses at every gate, the porters being the gatekeepers. So had David, the man of God, commanded. And they departed not from the commandment of the king unto the priests and Levites concerning any matter or concerning the treasures. So basically, as King David had appointed and King Solomon reiterated and instituted, they stuck to that. Now all the work of Solomon was prepared unto the day of the foundation of the house of the Lord Yahweh, and until it was finished. So the house of the Lord was perfected. So at this point, everything that needed to be done in the building of this house, this was a great project, right, in terms of a building, they completed it. Then went Solomon to Ezion Geber and to Eloth at the seaside in the land of Edom. Right, we've looked at that before. If we look here, Ezion, there we go, map, Bible. Yeah, I think this is one of them here. So they have it down here by the coast here of the Gulf of Aqaba, and they have Edom over here on the south, north of that. So yeah, that's one diagram going into that. Yeah, you also have another one here. So you have Eloth, and then you have Ezion Geber down here. It says here, and Hiram sent him by the hands of his servants ships and servants that had knowledge of the sea, right? Because that's the Hiram's people were known for that. So he sent ships, right? Because they could build those, and servants that were good navigators and so on. And they went with the servants of Solomon to Ophir, and took thence 450 talents of gold, and brought them to King Solomon. And as we covered in the book of 1 Kings, the 9th chapter, Ophir here being what we believe to be America, or the Americas. And there's you can look into research on that. Some sources that support it, and there's some people that believe it's somewhere else. But nonetheless, this was where they traveled to in order to get those resources, which it wasn't just gold, but as it mentions here, that's what's being highlighted. So a lot of the riches came from the tribute and the sort of trade system that King Solomon set up, but also from these trips, right? That his servants and Hiram's servants that went with him took in order to bring these resources back. And so that brings us to the end of the book of 2nd Chronicles, the 8th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.